Hello and welcome to Brief Tune. It's no surprise that the most popular cartoons have a huge audience, and to satisfy these audiences, spin-offs, movies, and even alternate endings were made. So today, we will talk about some cartoon endings, and then the alternative ones that have followed. Let's start with Adventure Time. The last episode, named Come Along With Me, is set 1,000 years after the events of the series. Two adventurers named Shermie and Beth find Finn's old mechanical arm and seek out the King of Oo, who is the older Beemo, to learn about its origins. Beemo then recounts the story of the Great Gum War. According to Beemo's retelling, Princess Bubblegum was in a war against her uncle Gumbald, but they reconcile later. Just as that is about to happen, the powerful Golb arrives, threatening to destroy Oo. Inside Golb, Betty sacrifices herself using the Ice Crown's wish-granting power to try to eliminate Golb. When that fails, she wishes to protect Simon at all costs, fusing with Golb and exiting Oo through a portal.
I wish for Golb to disappear. I wish for Golb to disappear! I wish for the power to keep Simon safe.
With Golb's essence vulnerable to music, Finn, Jake, and everyone join together in song, weakening Golb just enough for Finn and Simon to escape. Fern, Finn's grass-based counterpart, passes away after reconciling with Finn.
That's okay. Just promise to plant me there.
A new tree sprouts from Fern's remains, with Finn's sword in the top. We don't know what happened after that. However, in one episode of a new series called Distant Lands, Finn and Jake are now dead and in the dead worlds. But they are coming back to life, and that's how the cartoon ends. Hopefully there will be more. And there is more, because Fiona and Cake is the spin-off of Adventure Time. Now, while Finn and Jake do not feature prominently in the same way as in the original series, their essence is echoed through Fiona and Cake's adventures. We see them as old people in their original timeline and as different characters in the future in other dimensions. But we're not going to go all the way through this, as it gets kind of complicated, and that's for another video. Now, with Tom and Jerry, the last episode, Blue Cat Blues, is about Tom falling head over heels in love with a beautiful white cat. At first, the white cat seemed to reciprocate Tom's feelings, but she was just manipulating him to get material stuff. She ended up leaving Tom for the wealthy Butch. In the end, as Jerry sits beside the despondent Tom on the railroad tracks, they see Butch and the white cat drive by, now newly married. Heartbroken, Jerry realizes his girlfriend has also left him for a wealthier suitor. So the two friends sit together, waiting for the approaching train, their fates left uncertain. Now, despite the controversial episode's suicidal theme, the cartoon's production did keep going. With Edd, and Eddy, now this show seems to have had many last episodes. The last episode of the 4th season, named Take This Edd and Shove It, was supposed to be one of them. The kids realize that they're growing up and they get scared. Eddie falls into a hole and gets hit on the head. He wakes up to find himself and his friends as elderly senior citizens 90 years in the future. He tries to escape this strange future, but in the end, Eddie, still an old man, the next last episode is the last episode of the 5th season, named A Fistful of Edd, where Eddie becomes a bully, realizes his mistake, and tries to redeem himself. The last episode is a movie that was released in 2009. It's about when Edd and Eddy went on an adventure to locate Eddie's brother's whereabouts. When they find Eddie's brother, he is revealed to be physically abusive towards Eddie, unlike how Eddie described him. In the end, the Edds return home, and yeah, that's pretty much it. With Steven Universe, there were two endings for it. The original one was Change Your Mind, and it was full of scolds as he tries to explain what happened while desperately searching for Connie. Blue continues to chastise him for bringing organic life back from the Kyanite colony. Confused, Steven realizes that this is another one of Pink Diamond's memories, and in them, he sees Yellow and Blue Diamond as they prepare to attack. Terrified, he flashes between Rose Quartz and Pink Diamond. Steven wakes from a nightmare to find Connie. Blue Diamond is upset that he won't act like a diamond and demands an apology. After confronting her about her treatment of Pink, Blue realizes her past behavior made Pink miserable and decides to help find the other crystal gems. They confront Yellow Diamond, which of course leads to a fight. Steven reminds Yellow that her perfectionism harms who she loves, prompting her remorse. The diamonds then reconcile ship. Lapis and Peridot carry Bismuth and Connie, while Steven fuses with Amethyst and Pearl to form Smoky Quartz and Rainbow Quartz 2.0. To fight back, Steve infuses with Ruby and Sapphire into obsidian to confront the mecha, which is soon swatted away. After separation, they enter Mech's pupil to face White Diamond, who extracts Steven's gem. Steven wakes as a human, with his gemstone transforming into Pink Diamond. He screams that Pink is gone and blocks White's attack, but loses control when she unleashes her gems. Connie gives human Steven to Gem Steven, and they recombine. He then makes her lose control over the mind-controlled gems. Steven reunites with the crystal gems and comforts Pink Pearl. White Diamond feels flawed, and Steven encourages her to embrace her true self. Now back on Earth, Sadie Killer performs in Beach City, while the others reunite with Steven as they search for a cure for corruption. They realize their final attack caused the Nephrite's corruption and restore the gems in Steven's mother's garden. A healed Jasper stops her attack upon seeing the diamonds. As the diamonds depart, Steven plays a song on the beach, joined by the crystal gems as a shooting star streaks overhead.
You're mine.
Now, this other ending is another season's called Steven Universe Future, and in the final episode, Steven struggles with his identity as he feels the pressure to meet certain expectations and realizes that he needs to prioritize his mental health. So, he decides to leave Beach City to explore his own path outside. They burst out crying, and they all promise to remain best friends. Steven finally leaves Beach City in his car, searching for his destiny. Moving on to regular show, the last episode in this is titled A Regular Epic Final Battle, and it serves as the show's finale and is made out of 3 parts. The park crew arrives at Lollyland, which is the birthplace of Pops and Anti-Pops, where they learn that they had previous conflicts that have ended in stalemate, causing the universe to reset. Pops strikes a deal with Anti-Pops. Whoever lands the first blow decides the universe's fate. However, Anti-Pops breaks the deal and continues fighting. Meanwhile, the park crew battles Anti-Pops' minions and streaming modem. As Pops punches Anti-Pops away, Anti-Pops unlocks his Titan form and begins erasing Lollyland. Muscle Man and High Five Ghost are hit by an erasing beam, and only Mordecai, Rigby, and Pops are spared. Enraged by the loss, Pops transforms into his Titan form, and the two clash it out. Mordecai realizes this will reset the universe and tries to intervene, but he's unable, leading to the universe's reset, and because of that, Rigby feels deja vu while fighting the Beef Burrito doll, and after touching a futuristic Blu-ray box set, Mordecai regains his memories. They realize their actions caused the time glitch and hope to help Pops save the universe. In the battle, Pops sacrifices himself and Anti-Pops by flying into the sun, restoring everyone who was erased. Now, 3 years later, the park crew returns to Earth, reuniting with loved ones. Rigby shares a kiss with Eileen, and a memorial statue honors Pops. 25 years later, Mordecai becomes an artist, and Rigby has a family. At a reunion by Pops' statue, they reminisce and share their catchphrases one last time.
Whoa!
The screen fades to static, revealing Pops in the afterlife, happily saying, "Jolly good show," marking the series end. Next up, we're looking at Clarence. Now, Clarence's finale is titled Anywhere But Sumo. In the days leading up to the summer break, Sumo and Clarence reflect on their haircut anniversary. Sumo agrees to let Clarence cut his hair, but on the day of the anniversary, his school friends cut it instead, leaving Clarence feeling betrayed and jealous. He worries that Sumo is spending more time with them and he feels left out. He races to their special couch and cuts Sumo's last remaining hair that his friends had missed. The group gathers and watches in shock as Sumo's school is destroyed by a runaway bulldozer, but then they cheer because Sumo and his friends will no longer have to attend school. The wall collapses, Clarence exclaims yes, and this marks the end.
Oh, dang.
Or does it really? In an episode, Plain Excited, Clarence and his friends are excited about a school field trip on an airplane. However, once they're on the flight, things don't go as planned when Clarence messes around in the cockpit. The plane, well, it's not stated whether it made an emergency landing or actually went down, so we're really not sure if everyone died or just had injuries. But then again, 78.5 years in the future, we see the squad at a retirement home where Clarence, with his amputated legs, has flashbacks. After the flashback, Jeff and Sumo disagree with Clarence's version, prompting him to suggest that his memories may be fuzzy. Now, this makes us wonder how Jeff and Sumo question his memories when they were not on that plane. Anyways, moving on to Uncle Grandpa. Now, this is known for its surrealist characters and weird events. However, the finale was just about reminiscing about high school. So, Principal Bullhorn monitors detention after a sarcastic remark from Pizza Steve. When he leaves for the bathroom, Pizza Steve orders pizza, and when it arrives, Bullhorn eats the pizza and gives everyone 2 more detentions. In despair, Pizza Steve tries to escape, but is caught by Zarna and sent back to detention. When Mr. Gus asks Tiger why she's in detention, she says she wanted company. Principal Bullhorn warns them to clean up, but when he finds a paper football, everyone raises their hands. Instead of punishing them, he cancels the detentions and tells them to go home. Uncle Grandpa then offers them a chance to live in his RV for adventures, and they all agree, thus ending the series. Alright, so this next one's really great because we all love We Bare Bears. And we definitely love this crossover because in the last episode, on Panda's birthday, the bears give Panda a present signed by his favorite band, only to find out it's from another band, which really upsets him. To make up for it, Grizzly suggests that they find the band, and Ice Bear tracks them to a hotel. At the hotel, and after a lot of trouble, they get into the hotel and Ice Bear introduces himself to the band as they take a break. Panda hangs out the window, but when Wonho closes it, he falls. Grizzly runs from the bellhop, where Ice Bear invites Monsta X to meet Panda. A crowd of fans appears, causing chaos. Ice Bear evacuates the band from the hotel, but the angry bellhop and crazed Monbebes block their tour bus. As they approach, Panda slips and falls onto the fans. Monsta X's bus leaves, and injured, Panda thinks he missed them. Grizzly apologizes, but then Monsta X appears from behind a bush. I.M. explains that the bus the fans chased was a decoy, and Shonu reveals they have 5 buses. Grizzly introduces them to Panda, who celebrates his birthday, and Ju-Hyun gives him a headband. Grizzly and Ice Bear encourage Panda to show them his special sign. Reluctantly, he does, and the boys are impressed and ask them to join in. Now, this was supposed to be the ending. However, the last episode was actually a movie that got released in 2020, where the bears were sent for trial in jail. Because of all the bad things they caused, Agent Trout thought that they were a menace to humanity, so he put them in jail. The bears escaped and decided to go to Canada, and thought that they met a lot of people until they reached the borders where they weren't allowed access because they didn't have a passport. Panda Bear and Grizzly Bear got into a fight because it was Grizzly Bear who convinced them that they didn't need a passport. Suddenly, Agent Trout kidnapped them and separated them. Grizzly Bear then sat sadly in his cage thinking that it was all his fault, but he decided that he's not going to give up and broke out of the cage, saved his friends, and then they all got into a fight with the agent that led to a fire. All the bears in the scene made a ladder using their bodies to hang onto the helicopter and successfully ran away. And finally, we look at a fan favorite, Lilo and Stitch. Now, Lilo and Stitch's adventures never end, but in the last episode, Lilo and Myrtle were forced to work together to find buried treasure, when an experiment that binds together uncooperative people with sticky elastic glue appears. Myrtle helps Lilo catch Link, while Stitch becomes stuck to Nani and Jumba becomes stuck to Pleakley. Eventually, they do catch the experiment. However, what could be considered the ending is the Lilo and Stitch 2006 movie. After capturing all the experiments, Lilo, Stitch, Jumba, and Pleakley are celebrated by the Galactic Alliance. Each receives exciting offers, but they hesitate to leave Lilo. She encourages them to go, gifting Jumba an Elvis record, Pleakley a rock, and Stitch a Kutiki necklace. Meanwhile, Gantu breaks Dr. Hamsterville out of prison, and together they force Jumba to create a powerful new experiment named Leroy. Stitch confronts Leroy, but gets captured due to a distraction from Pleakley. Hamsterville plans to clone an army of Leroys and lock Stitch, Jumba, and Pleakley in a vehicle aimed at a black hole. Lilo tries to contact Stitch using Gantu's broken broken video phone and comforts 625, whom she names Reuben. Reuben repairs the phone, but Leroy fails to impersonate Stitch. Gantu orders Leroy to capture the experiments. Lilo asks Reuben to fix Gantu's ship, which he does. Meanwhile, Stitch escapes his capsule as the ship heads for the black hole. Jumba suggests throwing something in to disrupt its course, and Stitch throws Pleakley's rock. Leroy captures Lilo's scrapbook and Myrtle. Lilo learns Hamsterville has taken over the Galactic Alliance. Gantu helps them escape from the Leroy clones, and the GAC vehicle reunites Lilo and Stitch. At Aloha Stadium, Leroy reveals his plan, but the BRB 9000 arrives. Jumba recalls a shutdown command for Leroy, Elvis's Aloha Oi. Stitch sings it with Lilo and Reuben, causing the Leroys to malfunction, and Hamsterville is captured again. Stitch, Jumba, and Pleakley request to return to Earth with Lilo. Back on Earth, Lilo prepares for one last Ohana picture, and Myrtle arrives with Gigi, who only participates after realizing her dog is an experiment. Lilo's final photo includes her Ohana and Stitch's cousins. In a closing scene, Hamsterville is back in prison, surrounded by Leroy and his clones. And wouldn't you know it, that's gonna be it for today's video. So, which cartoon characters did you not notice were missing? Tell us in the comments below, and we'll see you guys in another video.